Oh, hello, pigeon. Now, his pigeon was going faster than me. I just got outrun by a pigeon. In this video, I'm back at the Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust here in Warwickshire to have a play with something really different. This is a Lanchester LD10 and it has a Preselector gearbox, something we've not encountered before on the channel. So I'm looking forward to showing you how that works and telling you more about Lanchester generally. It's one of the oldest brand names in the UK when it comes to cars, and yet it's kind of entirely forgotten. So Lanchester is a name that certainly isn't very familiar today. But like I say, it dates back to the earliest days of motoring here in the UK. Lanchester built their first car in I think about 1895. It was three brothers, and I think Frederick was the great engineer. And Lanchester had a range of fascinating cars very early on. I think they sold their first car in about 1900. But they had this strange sort of cab forward design, very peculiar. But sadly, the Great Depression forced Lanchester into the arms of BSA, who also owned Daimler. And from that point on, the Lanchesters became more like miniature Daimlers. So this one doesn't look like a Daimler, but I think some of the engineering is shared. The Preselector gearbox is a notable one. Daimler fitted Preselectors to its cars and also its buses. So the buses thumping around Coventry in the sort of post-war years had Preselector gearboxes from Daimler. But it's a very unusual car in terms of styling, because this one dates from 1947. And I think for 1947, the styling is a bit swish. It's quite rounded and it looks fairly advanced. Something it isn't necessarily under the skin. Although I believe the engine is overhead valve, and of course we've got that transmission of Preselectorness, but the bodywork is very traditional back here. This is by Abbott. This is one of, I believe, only 3 drop head coupes. They're certainly very, very rare. This front section is really long and very strange and doesn't fold at all, so it's got a weird sort of a look to it with the hood all folded down, but nonetheless it's a very attractive vehicle, and one which has only very recently joined the heritage fleet here. They're still waiting to do their official handover at the time of filming. But yeah, very, very traditional inside. Lots of wood on the dashboard. Weirdly, the windscreen still opens, because that's how you did demisting in the old days. So the windscreen wipers can park off the screen to allow the screen to open up for more ventilation. But yeah, we've got winding windows on the doors, which are of the suicide type. We've got trafficators. Don't worry, we'll do a trafficator demonstration later on. That's effectively an electronic arm to tell people you're signalling. But it's all very, very swish, very, very cute. Someone's added additional indicators, which I think is wise. The trafficators are not very visible, and rearward visibility is somewhat restricted by this huge hood, which is a problem shared by cabriolets going way back, or way into the future rather, because things like even the Volkswagen Beetle had a massive hood that got in the way of your vision. We'll have a look under the bonnet, because that's fun in itself. You have to pop this up, and then I think we can lift the bonnet up. There we go. So that's our release. Got some springs to hold it into place, and there it is. It's a 1.3 litre, so it's quite tiny, but yeah, quite a sweet little engine. Look at the dinky little carburettor. Very, very dainty indeed. And here's our throttle linkage, I think, coming across. Oh, sorry, no, that'll be the linkage for the gear lever, as you'll see in a moment. My mistake. Throttle linkage is over this side. So here is our throttle linkage over here. All very, very mechanical. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh on the old girl. Maybe she is quite advanced for the early post-war era. We've got an actual water pump. Look, you have to grease it to keep it lubricated rather than just pure thermosiphon, and overhead valves. Again, a bit unusual on a British car in those immediate post-war years. Side valve engines were still very much king. Right, let's take you aboard this little baby luxury car. It looks like this one might have been retrimmed. It's beautiful leather interior, but all this wood on the dashboard. We've got controls for the wipers, the choke. It's a pull starter. Aftermarket oil pressure gauge is a very sensible addition. We've got water temperature over here. Petrol over there, a little clock which inevitably doesn't work. That's a warning for the indicator that's been retrofitted, and that's the key to start the beast. This is the Preselector, so you move it to the positions you want, and then you press the pedal and it engages that gear. So something you have to remember. So we've got an extra heater by the look of it, and that's to turn the petrol pump on and off. So all pretty simple really, but very, very luxurious. Look at the lovely door pockets. But rear accommodation, even though you get armrests, it's a little bit limited in terms of leg room back there. I don't think I would fit, in all honesty. I don't know if the seat oh yes, the seat tips, there we go. Nothing to secure it in place. Let's see if we can see into the boot. Oh, there we go. We've still got some spares. Like I said, this car has only recently come into the collection, so we've still got its little pot of spares in there. It's got a little lovely engine. It saw something like this on the Saab 96. Slightly, it doesn't quite go over center, so you can just pull down and it releases again. It's lovely, and you can see the spare wheel down there. It has this lockable rear number plate assembly. That is what you have to remove to get the spare wheel out. Right, rather like the XK120 I drove when I was here earlier, this is a bit of a challenge to get in because of the steering wheel. You kind of have to go a bit like this. And given, I think, you know, lady owners were part of the target audience for this car, that doesn't seem ideal. But then there's a very low floor, so maybe you can just hop in on the passenger side, just straight on the curb, and just slide across. Maybe that would be more graceful. Oh, look at this lovely glove box. I hadn't taken that into account really. Oh, I don't think that fits quite how it should, but nonetheless. Let's fire the engine up then. Make sure we're in neutral. We turn the key, ignition on, we pull the starter. And she fires up into life. You're going to want a wiper test, so let's give this a go. This went utterly wrong when we were practicing earlier. So you turn that way, and there we go. And this one goes that way, and should then turn on. He says. No, we're having some problems here. We're just going to do a single wiper apparently. So we'll park that one off the screen. We'll stop this one. Oh no, that one started now. What? Oh, there we go. No. Oh, I think we should try and just park that off the screen, and we'll try and park this one now as well. There we go. So that turns them off. Got them off the screen. We can now turn the little handle, and we can open up the windscreen for more ventilation if somehow you needed it. These little wipers do confuse me. I'm going to close that because I think we're ventilated enough. I'm definitely going to burn well enough. So what we do is we flicker up into one. I then come clutch down, but then come off it because it's not a clutch. And there goes the fluid flywheel. Handbrake off, and we're away. So a fluid flywheel is like a simpler version of a torque converter. It doesn't convert the torque. It's a 1-to-1 drive ratio, I believe. And then I can flick the lever into second. Nothing happens until I press the button. And there we go. And you think, well, this seems a bit of unnecessary faff. Why would you do this? But the whole point of it was that back when this car was new, manual gearboxes were a bit manual. They were very manual. And you often have no synchromesh on first gear. Whereas in this, I think I can do a downshift into first quite easily. Let's try it. And there we go, we're in first gear, all very smooth. Select second, select third, but I'm going to wait until I'm over this speed hump. So we're still in second, even though that says third. Slow down, this bump's horrible. So it's quite nice on the independent front suspension, but the old cart springs at the back, not so comfortable. And then when I'm ready, I can select third without having to leave my hands off the wheel. I will say the handling is not entirely sporty, and the performance is rather leisurely. This is not a car for driving quickly. Top gear is marked T for top, not fourth. But we've got roundabouts to deal with first. This is my indicator. And I think it's self-cancelling as well, so keep an eye on this as we go around. Feed the wheel. Oh, I'm going to have to do this anyway. And now there isn't enough bend. Ah, traffic lights got me, but no clutch pedal, note. And then I just go down to the 1, do that, and we're in first gear, we're ready to go. In fact, she's fighting the brakes. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was a bit late getting the handbrake off there. I'm very sorry. Oh, there we go, out on the open road, old girl. That's 30 miles an hour. Now I need to get over into that lane. Check my blind spot because it is substantial in this car. But it's very lovely, it's very compact, but then it is a compact car. For the 1940s, this is quite a small car. Lanchester, by this stage, Daimler was using Lanchester for those who wanted a luxurious car, but not necessarily a big one. I'm going to block change straight down to second. Look at that. And we're ready for the traffic lights to change. Oh, come on, old girl. And actually, the road manners are pretty decent by the standards of the time. He says, oh, that got a wobbly. Yeah, these cars were very well renowned for their smoothness, and I can see why. But you do have to kind of remember which gear you're in. Thank you. This is very charming. This is your pottering to the show sort of a car, really. This isn't for racing around like one of those uncouth Jaguars. But yeah, if you're wondering why Lanchester is in the Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust collection, well, it's because Lanchester and indeed Daimler were bought by Jaguar in 1960. BSA, which made small arms and motorbikes, felt the need to sell off the car arm. So that's what happened. It ended up being all bundled up into Jaguar. But by then, Lanchester was already dead. I think 1956 was the absolute end. And yeah, performance is definitely on the limited side. It was a very, very niche market. I think only 3,000 saloons of these type were built. And it kind of replaced, I think, the LD10 by the 14. And the 14 leaned a lot more heavily on the Daimler underpinnings. The very last 14s, badged as later, I think, were just Daimler Conquests with a 4-cylinder engine. Daimler Conquests also had the Preselector gearbox. Now, technically, the name Lanchester still exists. It is still in use, but of course, it's owned by Tata, who own Jaguar Land Rover. It's not a trading company anymore. And to be honest, I don't think it's likely to be. The name Lanchester, it's not a cool name, is it? No. It's very of its time. It feels like I should be smoking a pipe. But I've never driven a Lanchester. I've never driven a Preselect gearbox on the road. I've driven a Daimler Ferret scout car. They had Preselector gearboxes. So again, I don't need to touch the clutch pedal, which does take some getting used to. We just come to a halt. And I'm just going to plonker into neutral. So that whirring you can hear is the fluid flywheel. So it's that fluid transfer of power. But a fluid coupling does sap a bit of power in use, I think. So this little engine is having to work pretty hard. But what a beautiful little thing. Like I say, it's only just joined the collection, so they haven't really had a chance to go through this car perfectly. But it's lovely. So select the first, and we're still in neutral at the moment until I press the lever down. Oh, I didn't do that very well, did I? Yeah, it's a very smooth car to drive once you, as you get used to it and work out what you're doing. But Preselector gearboxes were quite popular for limousines and the like. I think that's one reason Daimlers were so popular, because it makes them able to creep very, very slowly. So if you're in a procession, it's absolutely ideal in the way a conventional automatic isn't, because that's trying to force you down the road. So Armstrong Siddeley, another very traditional manufacturer of cars in those post-war years, I think they were also a fan of a Preselect. But yeah, 40 miles an hour is kind of feeling about enough, really. I think we can probably make an attempt on 50, but that would seem a little unjust. I don't think she really wants to go that quickly. I'll just keep her in top gear. Oh, hello, pigeon. Now, as pigeon was going faster than me, I just got outrun by a pigeon. But again, full credit to Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust for keeping these vehicles working and operational, so people like me, struggling to see around bends, can take them out for drives. They take them out for drives as well, it must be said. They have a merry band of volunteers that often take their cars out to shows, things like Coventry Motor Fest, Goodwood Festival of Speed. The Trust's vehicles are very often out and about, Bicester Scrambles even. Oh, I might drop to second here. Beautiful. What a way to see the world this is. I've gone the wrong way. I just realised I wasn't going to go this way. Oh well. This way is apparently the way we're going. Oh yeah, she doesn't like hills very much. Come on, little car, you can do it. Oh, that is 50, but I've got dust in my eye. Ah! Oh no, that doesn't feel much fun. I think we're going to stay at slightly milder speeds. Yeah, this is definitely a bimbling sort of a car. Not a let's get there as quickly as we can sort of a car, but it is so charming. I love the colour as well, it's very vibrant. All this lovely wood. They were proper handcrafted cars in their days, the Lanchesters. Weirdly, Hammond had one on Top Gear, the episode where James May bought an Ami because it was the last car in the sale. It wasn't, they left at lunchtime, I was there. But nonetheless, that was a rare occasion where a Lanchester made it into the public's consciousness. I don't think Hammond enjoyed his Lanchester as much as May enjoyed his Ami though. Ah, Mr. Boss, how could you? To work on my clutch changes. I'm trying not to use it as a clutch, I guess. But you got to slip it just a bit on those gear changes. Can't leap off the pedal. Oh, it must be said, the brakes are surprisingly good. Which is good, we need them to be. The hill climbing, not so much. Yeah, you just got to be smooth with it. If you're too abrupt, she doesn't like it. Well, there we go. How utterly charming was that delightful 1947 Lanchester LD10. It's a car you can come and see here at the Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust. This is a four-wheel drive XJS that you might not know existed. They've got a whole lot more in here, and from upstairs you can get a view of what's going on in the workshop as well. It's a fascinating place. And did you know they've also got an online tour exploring the life of Sir William Lyons, the founder of Jaguar, way back in 1922. I'll put a link in the description below. You're welcome to go and have a look at that as well. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. You can head to hubnut.org if you would like to order some fancy merchandise. And I'll see you in a future video. Farewell.